Back to Muscular Dystrophy Warrior, just like last video and every video, a moment of silence for all the fallen warriors who sadly lost the battle to muscular dystrophy, sending prayers to all those families who have lost someone with muscular dystrophy. All right, guys, for this video, like you guys see in the title, it says My Power Soccer Journey, Wheelchair Soccer, Central Valley Ghost Riders. So I'm gonna be sharing with you guys my journey playing power soccer, aka wheelchair soccer, here in Fresno, California, for my team, the Central Valley Ghost Riders. So I'm gonna be talking about how I found out, how many years did I play, and all in between, everything that I feel it's important to share in this video related to the Central Valley Ghost Riders and my experience playing wheelchair soccer, aka power soccer, or the other way around, power soccer, aka wheelchair soccer. You know what I mean. So I'll start with a brief explanation before I dive into the video. So, well, you guys, I come from a sports family. My family likes sports. I like watching football. Bang Bang Niner Gang. I'm a basketball fan as well. Laker Nation here. A Laker Nation fan. I bleed purple and gold. Shout out to Laker Nation. Shout out to all the Kobe's fans out there. I'm a Kobe fan as well. So when it comes to soccer, I'm a Leo Messi fan. Sorry, my Cristiano Ronaldo fans. But I respect Ronaldo, what he's done. Just like Messi, but I'm Team Messi all the way. So yeah, so I'm come from a huge sports family. Uh, but when you were born with muscular dystrophy or any disability, you don't really think you're gonna play a sports. That's why you don't really think about, oh, I want to join a soccer team, a football team, a basketball team, a volleyball team, just to name a few sports. Kids play in school, high school, college, you don't really think about that stuff because it's like, I have this disability. I don't think I'll ever be able to play. You know what I mean? So back in 2012, I'll say 2012, I attended the MDA summer camp for the first time, very first time. And I think a day before the final day of the camp, I think we got to play uh, wheelchair soccer, aka power soccer. I kind of already knew a little bit about power soccer because my good friend Victor told me that you know, when I first met him that year, he told me that he was part of a wheelchair soccer team, the Central Valley Ghost Riders and stuff. That supposedly he said he came up with the name, but I'll go back to this story again, because I'll connect it with what happened a few years later and stuff. So anyway, so yeah, like I said, we played power soccer, using our own wheelchairs, obviously. We use our own wheelchairs. Obviously, they didn't give us a different wheelchair. We used our own wheelchairs. They put a metal crate. I mean, it was basically a normal crate, but most teams use a metal crate, not just like the milk crate or any crate, any regular crate. So we used that. We play first half, second half, like every soccer game is first half, second half. You guys know the drill for my soccer fans like myself, or those that have seen power soccer before as well. So yeah, so they gave all the campers a flyer. I put it inside my bag, like the bag that I took to summer camp with all my clothes, stuff, but somehow I couldn't find it afterwards, once I got home, which sucked. So I was like, And plus, I didn't know because they had everything like contact information and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I don't know what's the team's name at that point. I was like, is it the same team my good friend Victor was talking about? Is it a different team? I didn't have nothing, so that sucked. So I was like, yep, so that there it goes, the chance to play a sport. But yeah, like a year later, when I was in eighth grade and I was 13 years old, we used to attend the support group meetings here in Fresno, California, that the MDA sponsored I think every month, every Monday of every month, they sponsor these meetings where supposedly it was for other parents going through the same thing, could connect and stuff. But sadly, it was only me and my parents that would attend. There was not a lot of parents attending, so they decided to not continue the support group, I mean, because there was no people attending. I'm talking about a few years ago, like a lot of years ago and stuff. I was still in middle school. I think once I got to sophomore year, that around that time they canceled the support group because there was no point of having just two parents, you know, come or just one family come, and the rest were the MDA staff, and stuff. They will talk about different topics, share tips on how to handle certain situations, and a lot of stuff. So in one of those meetings, we reconnected with someone we met a few years back. We met a father and a son in a Christmas party where Children's Hospital used to do a Christmas party every Christmas, before Christmas, like 2 weeks before Christmas. I don't think they do it anymore. But we showed up, we sat at a table and we met a father and son, Jaime and Jaime Jr., Jaime Sir and Jaime Jr. and stuff. And Jaime Sir started talking with my parents, asking what disability I had. And they told him, I had muscular dystrophy, Duchenne. And he was like, oh, Jaime Jr. does as well. And Jaime's dad was surprised because Jaime Sir was surprised because I was still walking. He asked how old I was. I was like, I'm 11 because he never seen somebody walk that long, because he was telling us that Jaime stopped walking around 7 years old. He started using a wheelchair. So seeing someone who is walking at 11, it was surprising to see. Honestly, I don't blame him because I've been there as well. I've seen so many things when it comes to muscular dystrophy. I'm like, hold on, I didn't know this happened. I mean, I have read that there's people that walk till they're 15, 16, but over the years I learned, even though you have the same disability, same mutation or different mutation, it varies. Every person is different. So we lost contact after that Christmas party. He shared some tips, what to expect with muscular dystrophy. He was basically, a mentor what was gonna happen next, what to expect with muscular dystrophy. He shared that he had a handicap van that at some point we needed to obviously get one, don't get it new like he would. Like he said, don't get it new. Like I'm telling you, he's like, I've been trying to get a new van for Hyman, but they're expensive. So I tried getting a used one, you know, for the meantime. But if you're able to get a newer one, that's up to you guys after. But I suggest just get one just for the meantime. So he showed us the van, what does it have to have, like what type of ramp has to have, how to do certain things, this and that. So we lost contact with him after that. So it was nice to see him. But that day, Jaime Jr. didn't go, so I didn't see him and stuff. So Yeah, so we reconnected with Jaime's dad, Jaime Sir, and stuff like that. And he told me if I was interested in playing, you know, power soccer, aka wheelchair soccer. And I was like, yeah, once he said that, I felt like I got another opportunity to play a sport. So I was like, yeah. And then he told me if I saw therapy at Children's Hospital, and the therapist's name was Nikki. And I'm like, yeah, I see Nikki. He was like, she's the coach of the team. Her Nikki and her husband, Frank, Coach Frank, they're the coaches. So once next time you see Nikki at your, regular, you know, neurologist appointment, you could mention that you know Jaime, and you know that you know us, and that you would like to be part of the team. So I was like, yeah. So the next appointment, I mentioned that to Nikki after she was done, with all the medical stuff, after she went over like, stuff like that about the medical stuff. I asked that, I knew Jaime and his dad, and they told me that you were the person to speak with about joining the Central Valley Ghost Riders, the power soccer team, aka wheelchair soccer. So she said, yeah. So she gave me a flyer and saying, that right now we're not practicing, but we'll be back. We're on summer break, but we'll be back in the fall. So hope to see you there. So I was like, yeah. So fall came, uh, showed up to practice. We used to practice like, it was a church called St. Anthony's Church, but also they had a Catholic school behind the church, same name, St. Anthony's School. I think it was an elementary school and stuff like that. So, yeah, so it's the church, and then behind the church, they have the school, same parking lot, but they had it behind the school. So we showed up. Uh, yeah, so they say go to the gym. So I went to the gym, but obviously the school gym, and the doors were already open. I saw wheelchairs outside. So I showed up. I see Coach Nikki there. So yeah, so she tells me like she's gonna gather the team together so they all can introduce themselves. Then Coach Frank introduced himself as well and stuff. So yeah, so we gathered like in the middle of the court, basketball court, and each of them, shared, they introduced themselves. I introduced myself. Then after we did all that, we, started practicing. The first thing we did, I think we were practicing corner kicks. So obviously they were guiding me how to do it. Coach Nikki, Coach Frank, and their founding player and veteran player, Jordan, was very helpful because he's been doing it for years. The whole team was helpful. So we did that, and after we did a couple of practices, corner kicks, I think we spent the day corner kick, kicking the ball, and stuff like that. I think we spent doing all that stuff. Then towards the end, they were like, we're gonna do a scrimmage. So we divided the team into two teams. Three players will play the field, basically the field, obviously the court in this case. Then one goalie, the other team has three players. So basically it's a 4-on-4. It's a 4 against 4 team. It's not 11 versus 11 like regular soccer, So it's four against four, counting the goalie, the goalkeeper, So we play, I had fun playing, I don't remember if I lost or won and stuff. So yeah, it was fun. So they were like, hopefully you come back, because we have had a lot of players come for a few practices and they don't come back for whatever reason. But they were like, hopefully you could come back. So I did come back. Obviously, like I said, from the age of 13 all the way to 19 or 20, I played wheelchair soccer. I told my friend about it, my friend Victor, that was part of the team. Then he joined and stuff. But yeah, we played several years. Like I said, from 13 all the way to 20. we didn't just play practices. I mean, every Sunday we had practices, but there was a few, like every few months, we'll, travel. We will travel to, let me remember, we traveled to Berkeley, San Jose. It was always those places. Berkeley, San Jose. Yeah, that was about it. From what I remember. Yeah, that was about it. I think we went to Santa Barbara once. Uh, Yeah, so we will play locally here around Fresno, California. We're 4 hours away from San Francisco, so we will travel to Berkeley, San Jose. Man, those tournaments were fun. Jaime's dad would, we would go with them. They would give us a ride all the way, back home to the tournament and back home and stuff. But I would attend some and some don't, because, Coach Nicky would always ask who can attend that tournament because a lot of us had something else going on. So when we didn't have enough players, we didn't go. But most of the time, we always had enough players, and stuff like that. And we would play with regular power wheelchairs until we got some donations from friends of Coach Frank who donated some, money to buy, the actual wheelchairs, which are called Strike Force chairs. We talking about cars, we can compare Ferrari with a Strike Force chair, and we can compare a regular power chair with, I don't know what car to compare it with. Uh, a regular car, I would say. I can't think of any brand, so yeah, so we would always receive donations to get the chairs. I'll say we were a good team, honestly, but yeah, we were a good team. We would win most of the time. But once the Strike Force chairs became, part of the sport, and we didn't have power wheelchair, it was hard to win games because every other team has had Strike Force chair. Like I said, it's like a Ferrari versus, I don't know, like I'll say Toyota car, a Honda versus Ferrari. So obviously, those chairs were faster. They can play better defense. They can even hit the ball from half court and it will go in because they will hit the ball so hard that the ball obviously will. Even if you try to like block it, you can block it, but the force it was coming with, obviously you blocking, it's gonna go in with the speed of the balls coming. So yeah, it was kind of crazy losing. We would lose bad. But once we got the strike force chair, we gave it to our star player, Jordan. Oh man, Jordan was great player. You guys was had the chance to see him play. He was a great player. They gave, first we got one power strike force chair. We only had one, which it was Jordan, but that made us, defend ourselves every tournament. We had a chance. We did tournaments here in Fresno, California. Everybody will bring something, we would accept donations, because we had food and stuff like that. Everything you can have food and stuff for all the snack bar. We had a snack bar basically. The snack bar was free for the teams invited to Fresno, California and to us as well, the host of the tournament. Just like every team did the same, every team had a snack bar, obviously. Yeah, they all had a snack bar, for the teams and stuff. So yeah, so we were like the visitors, and San Jose, Berkeley were the hosts. And sometimes we got to host our own tournaments here in Fresno, California and stuff. So yeah, it was a fun time, honestly. So like I said, we got a strike force chair for Jordan. Then we got another one and we gave it to my teammate Daniel. So Jordan and Daniel were like our best players, with Jordan and Daniel having a strike force chair, we were gonna be competitive again, which we were. I mean, I can compare Jordan and Daniel. They were like the Jordan and Pippen of power soccer, for us. Or like if we talk about the Niners, if you're a Niner fan, Willis and Bowman. Remember those linebackers, that everybody did not want to play against? Or we can say the Kobe and Shaq, we can compare them to that. And that made a difference. We were win games. We were competitive again because it's like, yeah, the rest of the team didn't have strike force here, but two made a difference. And stuff like at the tournament, we had the news come out once my good friend Victor joined the team. After I think he joined during high school. Then a good friend of mine, Timmy, joined as well. But yeah, Victor joined during high school. So yeah, we had a lot of support from his family who would show up to the tournaments, and cheer us on. So because people will show up, you know, family members, friends from each player, and stuff like that. So he would bring his family, and they were our biggest supporters out there, you know, and stuff like that. And then during I think junior year, his twin sister, my friend Felicia, was a cheerleader for our high school. So and the high school cheerleader coach was our special ed teacher, Miss Crone. So Victor asked Miss Crone if she was okay, for the cheerleaders to come out for one of our home tournaments. And obviously Miss Crone was cool with it. And yeah, so we had our, you know, local, our high school cheer team come out and stuff for a few games because we usually played like 3 games. I think they were out for 2 games. I think like 2 games, not the last one, but it was nice of them to do that. It was nice of Miss Crone to, being cool with that. And then we had the news come out. We had a DJ that Victor family, brought, which it was cool for them to do that, you know, and stuff. So it was a good time, you guys. It was a good time. It was a good time for playing soccer. Then during that time, we added a new player and a new coach as well that would help, Coach Frank out, and stuff. So yeah, so team was growing, honestly. Yeah, team was growing. Yeah, so like I said, we added Coach Ryan and his son Alex to the team. Coach Ryan helped Coach Frank. Coach Frank was more offensively, Coach Ryan was more defensively. So it felt like, football. You know how it is in football. We have the offensive coordinator, we have the defensive coordinator. So that's how I would compare Coach Ryan and Coach Frank. Coach Frank was more offensive and Coach Ryan was more focused on the defensive side. So yeah. So like I said, we added them. Then the team kept growing. We lost one player. I mean, he didn't want to be part of the team anymore. I don't remember. Then we had a returning player. His name was Tim. Tim went to a different team for a few years because he wanted to go to the Nationals, and obviously the Central Valley Ghost Rider did not go to Nationals. Nationals is where every team competes for a championship. It's like the national championship right now that they're having right now for the college football. Same thing with power soccer. They have a national championship. Winner receives a trophy. And you move up the conferences, you know. First you start with the lower conference, if you win or you make it to the finals but lose, you still make it to the next conference. The winner moves up as well. But if you lose or don't make it as far in the next conference, you go back. They lower you down to the lower, lower conference. So it's just about, step by step. Every time you win, your team start playing with more competitive team, more better teams, like in every sport. So we had Tim come back and, he had experience playing national, so he was a big help to get more wins for the team. And, talking about the good things and stuff, now I feel like have to focus on the two sad things. Sadly, during my junior year, like I mentioned in my life story, we sadly, unexpectedly lost Jordan. He was a great human being, great teammate, great friend, great player, legendary player. If there was a Hall of Fame, I haven't, yeah, if there was a Hall of Fame, Jordan would need to be a first ballot inductee to the Hall of Fame. Hopefully, someday we have a Hall of Fame, we can put him there, you know. So sadly, we lost Jordan, you know. That was like a sad, unexpected moment, you know, because Jordan was a founding player. You know, he was one of the founding players with Rodrigo. I'll talk a little bit about Rodrigo in a few minutes. So yeah, so losing Jordan was hard for the team, you know, we didn't expect something a tragedy like tragedy, you know, and stuff. You know, we did one of the home tournament we did like, you know, a tribute to Jordan, which was nice, you know, to do tribute to one of our founding players. Say father, my bad. One of the founding players. Jordan had a vision from Coach Nicky shared a story during the tribute that Jordan had a vision, you know, because Coach Nicky was Jordan's therapist, just like my therapist, you know, and one day Jordan asked that he wanted to start a power soccer team, aka wheelchair soccer, you know, and stuff. And obviously, Coach Nicky has a big heart because she was like, yeah, I'll help. That she wanted to help him with that. So Jordan has had a vision, you know, to start a wheelchair soccer team, aka power soccer, you know. Not just for him, you know, he wasn't selfish. He wasn't just thinking for him, you know, oh, I want to create a team so I can play a sport. No, he was thinking beyond that. He had a bigger, you know, a bigger vision, you know, a bigger motivation, you know, being like create this team so other people like myself can play that can benefit from this, you know, not just myself, you know, it was for all people living with muscular dystrophy or any disability to join the team, you know, that was his mindset, you know, that was his vision, you know. So that tells a lot about who Jordan was for those that never met Jordan, you know, that tells you a lot about Jordan, who he was as a person, you know. So great teammate, like I said. I always think about Jordan every once in a while and stuff. But you know, Jordan might be gone, but he has never been forgotten. He touched so many people's lives, you know, and he's never gonna be forgotten, you know. We're always gonna have Jordan in our hearts, you know, and stuff. So yeah. So talking about Rodrigo forgot what disability he had, but he let's say he was reckless. So many times he would crash with the opponent, like literally and stuff. Oh, luckily I think he once he got a yellow card, I think, and stuff. So he was reckless. He would always crash with the other opponent. Referee would always have to call, you know, something, you know, a foul because he was crashing too much, but it wasn't his fault. He had like some kind of monitor, something in his heart that was like giving him like shock waves. So sometimes he would just lose control of the chair, not because he wanted to, but you know, because he had something inside of him that would like shock him, you know, give him shock waves every few seconds, every few minutes, every few seconds. So yeah, then one of our teammates did get a red card once. His name is Buddy. He came after Jordan passed away. He arrived to the team. Then we had other players arrive as well, but Buddy's one of the teammates that stayed. You know, he did get a red card once. I mean, yeah. Yes, so those that watch soccer, yes, we have red cards and we have yellow cards. Yellow cards, you know, it's a warning. Red cards means you're out of the game, you know. They kick you out of the game, you know, and you leave your team with two players on the field, basically two players on the court, three players basically become the goalie. Instead of having four players, you have three against four. Same as having 10 against 11 in regular soccer. So yeah, so we had a lot of players, like I said, Campa, Jordan, uh, yeah, Jordan, Rodrigo, and then Daniel. Then Daniel had muscular dystrophy, but only affected half of his body. I think his left side was affected, so he was able to walk, drive, and do all that. So it was Jordan, Rodrigo, and Daniel, the founding players and stuff. So we lost Jordan. Then a couple of years before we stopped playing, we sadly lost another Central Valley Ghost Riders. I forgot that Jaime was a founding player as well. So we lost another founding player. We lost, the person that got me into wheelchair soccer, and the person who inspired me to go to try to get that degree in college. And I'll make another video talking about how Jaime impacted me in a positive way. Jaime was a very smart person, a very smart young man because he was 26 when he passed away. He had muscular dystrophy, like I mentioned earlier, so sadly passed away. He was a smart, like I said, smart young man. He made it all the way to Fresno State, here, the university that I went to. He graduated despite all the obstacles. He graduated in business administration. Yes, sir. He graduated. He got his degree, his bachelor's degree in business administration. He was very good with math. Despite his disability, very smart math person, like I'll say. So he made it all the way there, but after he graduated from Fresno State, I feel like he started having, honestly, I feel it was mental health that basically ended up taking his life away too young. I know he had muscular dystrophy, and I know I mentioned about life expectancy, but in his case, he started not wanting to do anything, That's feel like that's a sign of mental health. He didn't want to go practice, he didn't want to go anywhere. His dad did his best to try to, you know, make him, motivate him, like, let's go here, let's do this. He didn't want to do anything. His siblings, try to spend more time with him. Obviously, they had their own things to do, but they try to spend their own time with him, to motivate him, but nothing was working. And he would always tell his dad his heart was hurting. And every time they took him to the doctor, doctor was like, there's nothing wrong with Jaime. He's okay. Then at one point they tried to put a breathing tube to him. Like, he didn't need that, so I don't know what doctors were thinking until a neurologist from San Francisco came. He was like, why do you guys want to put a breathing tube? He's not here for a breathing tube. He's not saying he's having complication with breathing. He's just saying that he feels his heart hurt, his head hurts. So I don't know if he was going through mental health issues. Honestly, guys, I don't know if I could have done something to help him out. Honestly, I didn't know. I don't think I have like the right answers or what to do to help him out, honestly. So I don't think I would have been of any help. I feel like I wasn't going through mental health stuff during that time, so I didn't know how could I help him, because he didn't want to do anything, and I didn't want to like I didn't know how to talk to him or how to like, I mean, I could have gone visit him at home, but I was like, what if he doesn't want to see nobody, So I was like, I didn't know how to help him. Now that I went through mental health myself, I feel like I know I have, I think I have ways that I can talk to someone going through mental health, how to help him out, I can understand him more than during when Jaime had was going through. I feel like that's why I feel like mental health plus muscular dystrophy was the deadly combination that sadly took Jaime too young, too soon. So yeah, so those were the yeah, so we had some tragedy, sad stuff happen in the Central Valley Ghost Riders, but we got the opportunity to go to Indiana twice to make it to the national tournament and stuff. Jordan's dream was to go to the national team. No, I mean the national tournament, the national fight for play for the championship, Jordan won the championship, but the Central Valley Ghost Riders never had enough players wanting to travel, 'cause traveling is hard with a disability, so he never did, and he never wanted to go to a different team. I feel they should have let Jordan go to a different team just, for let Jordan go for that team. Maybe just, it's like when they signed that 1 year deal, you'll be with that team for a year, then you go back, then you have to search a team. So with Jordan, I felt like maybe we could have just let him tell a team, would you like to take Jordan to your team just for the tournament? And then after the tournament, he comes back to us, but that shows Jordan had loyalty. Uh, one of our one of my teammates, Tim, he went to a different team for a few years to play nationals. So he already had the exp veteran experience on what to expect, you know, in that higher level of at that tournament, at the highest level, Yes, they have national teams play. USA has a national power soccer team. France, I don't know what other country have a national team. So yeah, but I know they don't broadcast it on TV. Would be nice. ESPN, if you're watching this, can you guys please broadcast some power soccer games? Please, every sports app, can you guys, you know, Fox Sports, can you guys broadcast those games? Would be nice, if ESPN starts covering power soccer. Yeah, so if ESPN Sports Center watching this, can you guys sponsor? Can you guys show some highlights of power soccer as well? Fox Sports, let's make a talk show about power soccer. I'm just saying, if there is anybody who's watching the video works at Sports Center, can you guys share some highlights and stuff? Would be an honor if you guys can start broadcasting the game, collaborate with the US Power Soccer Association, something, So yeah, so Jordan's dream was to go to the Nationals. Sadly, he never got to go. I didn't go either, but I still supported the team from home. I would watch their games. The first time they went, they made it all the way to the finals. Yes, sir, we made it all the way to the finals. We lost. We went to overtime, I think, from what I remember. We lost in overtime by a mistake our goalkeeper made. Then the second time around, we made it into the semifinals, and we obviously lost in the semifinals against the same team that beat us in the finals. What a coincidence. So yeah, then after that, COVID hit before it was getting harder to find a place to practice before COVID hit because, like I said, the new administration that the St. Anthony's School had didn't like us practicing because they said we would leave tire marks in the gym floor. Obviously, then we had to clean those tire marks after every practice. Luckily, we always had volunteers, you know, volunteers from Fresno State who were studying to become physical therapists, just like Coach Nikki. So that's why their professor will send them so they can, do some volunteering hours. So we had volunteers come. They got on that power. Some of them got on the power chair. Obviously, they got to drive the wheelchair, but they were horrible players because they're not used to using a wheelchair. Some like if I let someone use my wheelchair that's never used a wheelchair, doesn't have a disability, they're not gonna know how to drive it. So the volunteers some of them will get on, some be like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do great. But some did great, some did okay. I'm not saying everybody did horrible driving the wheelchair. They did okay. Some even scored a goal, you know, and stuff. So yeah, the volunteers after that they would clean, you know, up the what you may call the gym floor and stuff. And Coach Frank would always say, like, my company is the one who built this gym. So it's based like his company, not him. He like, no, it wasn't me, it was my company, a project that my company got, you know, and stuff like that. I think yeah, he was like, my company is the one who created, not me. He was like, I didn't create it because they didn't hire me, they hired my company, so I was part of the project, you know? So he's like, basically, they don't want me to use the gym that my company built, you know? Like, basically, I built it, we put in other words, but it was his company who did. So, built that gym for the school because I feel like Coach Nick and Coach Frank donated money to that school as well. I think their kids used to go there and stuff. So yeah, so Coach Frank would always be like, they don't let us practice here, but basically I'm the one who built this. And then he was like, basically my company, the company did it. It was a project that my company was hired to build this gym, and stuff like that. So yeah, we had issues before that. Then COVID hit and we had to stop due to, we all have a disability, we were all higher risk of COVID, so we didn't play. And yeah, we didn't play. Then Coach Nicky sent us a text message if we would like to return to, playing. I said, yeah, I'll think about it. All of us were like, yeah, yeah. But that was the last message we ever got. And we did do an interview for ABC 30 here in Fresno, California. So yeah, we did an interview. Yeah, we did an interview for the news. That was the last thing we did with with the Central Valley Ghost Riders back in 2021. So it's been a couple of years. And yeah, I think first we got the interview, and then after that we got the message from Coach Nicky saying that if we wanted to go back, to playing wheelchair soccer, like I said, maybe because I was already doing, I was going to school and stuff like that. So yeah, even when I was going to college, I still was going to practices and stuff like this. So that's my story, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video about power soccer, the Central Valley Ghost Riders, the up and downs of the team, this video was made, to motivate you guys, those that the new generation of people with disability and muscular dystrophy. I wanted to motivate you guys, to show you guys and show the society, yes, we might have a disability, but we still can play a sport. We can still play soccer, adaptive soccer, which is AKA power soccer. There's different adaptive sports for different disabilities. So, so I suggest you guys, if you guys are interested in playing power soccer or a different adaptive sport, check your state, city, country if they offer this. And yeah, have a good time, you know, have a good time playing the sport you want to play, being part of a team feels great. So it doesn't feel like you're left out, like, oh, I have a disability and I will never be able to play. No, it shows you that we have to find the right sport, an adaptive sport that fits us. And yeah, enjoy the time of playing, everything comes to an end, like they say. So I'm grateful, for I'm grateful for getting the opportunity to play a sport. Huge thank you to Jordan for having that vision to create that team. Thank you to Coach Nicky and Coach Frank, Coach Ryan as well for everything you guys did. And yeah, thank you to all the teammates, all of ours, all of our what you may call, yeah, all of our volunteers. You know, thank you to Victor's family for always supporting the team. Thank you to Miss Crone for letting that. cheer team come out. Thank you for Felicia for wanting to do, that she was a cheerleader and wanted to support us as well. Thank you to her as well, and yeah, thank you to everybody who donated, you know, to the team over the years. Thank you, everyone. If there's somebody that I missed to thank, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna say thank you to everyone and stuff. And yeah, before I end this video, like always, like the great Kobe Bryant once said, Mamba out. In my case, it's MD Warrior out. Until next.